the #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to episode 220 of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Beckson. Today, we're going to be talking again with Christian Arce. He's the owner of New Age Construction in the Central and Caribbean Pacific side of Costa Rica. Today, we're going to be getting an update on kind of what's happening in construction and also his advice when building in Costa Rica, and then his advice on kind of building in the southern zone as well. It's a very different zone to build in than Guanacaste and Arenal. We often get asked of like, should we use a construction company in the area? In some areas, I would say yes. In some areas, it's not. And I would say no. We work with a lot of San Jose construction companies that work in all over the country. So I usually find that sometimes the San Jose guys are a little bit more organized than the coastal side. But Christian Arce does a great job. If you guys remember, he's been on the podcast a few times, but. Guys, if you're looking to do anything here in Costa Rica, as I've mentioned on the previous podcast, we have quite a few investment vehicles available for people. I kind of feel that we're cheating when we invest here just because, again, connecting it to the country's largest luxury travel company for the cash flow is absolutely spectacular. But you can email us info@investingcostarica.com if you'd like to hear more about some of the investment opportunities that we have here. No obligation, guys. But I think that once you start chatting with us, you'll see that what we have is something pretty golden. But that's info@investingcostarica.com. Remember, we do a variety of different stuff here. We do relocation. We help people buy real estate in Costa Rica. We help them invest and really just kind of guide them to make the right decision here in Costa Rica. As we say, nobody loses money on our watch. And I think that anyone that's worked with us will definitely say that they've made money with us. So, and also saved it in not making mistakes. So info@investingcostarica.com, or you can go to our website, investingcostarica.com. But let's get straight into the podcast. Good afternoon, Christian. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic, Richard. How's everything? Thank you for having me one more time in your podcast.
Not at all. I love to get your viewpoint on here. And, again, as I said, we'll speak to anyone that's in construction, real estate, investing here in Costa Rica. And, I think you guys do a great job. So it's great to get your name and also information about your business kind of out there. So yeah. Well, Christian, my first question for you is just trying to get an idea of kind of what's happening in the market at the moment, how your level of work is. There's a lot of volatility in the Western world at the moment. The markets are kind of up and down a little bit. There's a lot of, I would say uncertainty at the moment. But what are you seeing happening here in Costa Rica? And in particular, is your workload increasing? Is it the same? Is it decreasing?
Well, Richard, something they can tell you right now, straight up, it is that our work is being increasing like 3 times. We are running like crazy. We're working a lot. Our company grown in the last 2 years from having 40 workers. Now we're 108 workers and, getting better and better and better. What we are seeing, it is a lot of people are taking the decision to start to, pretty much move forward with the original plans of having a house in Costa Rica. So now they are starting. So that is what we're seeing. And we're seeing, not just North Americans coming, so Europeans, a lot of Europeans. So the southern area of Costa Rica is exploding with opportunities of construction. And what we see is that pretty much everybody want to be here.
You don't think that's going to slow down at all, Christian?
I don't know, hard to tell, but normally what we expect it is that this is going to continue growing. The world at this moment is really unstable. Pretty much what we can do is continue with this rhythm until something else happen, another crisis or another pandemic. But in this moment, everything look fantastic. We are in the perfect scenario to build, develop, and continue growing businesses in the southern area of Costa Rica.
Awesome, man. Most people, when they think about building in Costa Rica, are like, it's a nightmare. If you go on a Facebook, which is not a great litmus test for stuff, and someone's like, hey, I'm looking to build in Costa Rica, the comments are good luck, like you'll lose your shorts, but how do people make sure that they don't, as I say, lose their shirt or camisa, when doing in construction in Costa Rica?
Well, what is happening it is that a lot of people get what they pay for. They don't get really informed what they are working with. They're not working with professional companies. They are not working with a type of engineers or architects that they are subscribed to the college engineering architects. So they get in the end burn for people that they don't have the best practices and businesses. But if you want to do a successful project, you have to know who you're working with. That is why we're trying to present our company, trying to be clear with our clients in every single way so they know who they're working with and what kind of product they're going to expect from us. That is all the time you see in that social media, somebody, don't show up anymore in my property or somebody steal this from my property, but they never do a homework to research who they're working with. So, I have a saying, you're going to get what you're paying for.
Yeah, which I think really applies here in Costa Rica. And you need to trust but verify everything. I mean, we hear horror stories in construction. It was like the guy was so nice, and it was like, yeah, but if you'd have done your due diligence, you'd have probably found out that there were other projects that they also kind of, didn't do correctly as well.
Absolutely, that is correct, Richard. That happens so many cases. It's sad to say, that a lot of Costa Ricans, or even in this moment, it is not just Costa Ricans, it is a lot of people from different countries, that they just came down, they believe that they know how to build, put their company, and, a few months later, they grab projects and they do a nightmare for somebody. Yeah. So, we have 17 years in business, and all what we're trying to do, that is our first priority. It is customer satisfaction. We know that we are not perfect. Probably we are going to have problems or mistakes through the process. But if we are clear and we talk straight up, I know that every single detail can be fixed.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, man. I mean, it's just, I suppose, like in life, of like when a problem comes up, accept responsibility if it does and find a solution. People don't want to hear problems, they want solutions of like, okay,
absolutely.
How do we fix this? So, and I mean, again, as you said, there always happens in construction, man.
Absolutely. Well, I think that is the attitude. What kind of attitude you have through problems, and that is going to make you go faster, through the solution. So, yeah. And that is pretty much what we do. We find solutions for our clients.
Yeah. I mean, where do construction projects usually go wrong in Costa Rica, Christian? I mean, where do you typically see other projects kind of falling off, or just stuff not being delivered on time, mistakes being made? I mean, what are some of the things that typically go wrong?
Budget control, money situations. Sometimes people just want to, they want to grab the project, so they don't do the right numbers. They just present ridiculous numbers to the client. In the end, when the money is gone, everybody's in the fight. But, that is what we try to avoid. We're trying to do the right numbers in the beginning. Of course, weather in Costa Rica also is another factor, but numbers, money, budget, it is the worst scenario ever.
But how do you make sure? Because again, someone comes down, they're not typically bidding out a project to 3 or 5 people sometimes. A lot of the time it's maybe their architect says, I've got this construction company. And again, we pick up projects that go wrong all the time, man. I mean, that like, hey, they said they could do it for 650, they got 60% or 70% through and say that there's no more money left. And it was like, well, just looking at it, I could tell you that was never going to be built for 650. That's an $850 or $900,000 project. But like, how do you, someone that doesn't know, man, I mean, they know what they don't know, which is that they put a lot of trust in someone, they come back with this number, but like, how do you verify those numbers?
Well, the information have to be controlled. From the beginning, the client have to set up a team with an architect, engineers, and the builder, and all the time share and, make sure that what people is sharing, the information they're sharing is correct. So what I do in my projects is that we have an inspection for the professionals, architects, engineers every month, and we evaluate the percentage that we have done. And I developed a system over the last 10 years that is, this might sound crazy for many builders or many people, but I don't request money in front. Yep. Over the time, my clients only pay for work that is already done. So, this sounds a little strange. Nobody works like that, but I know that my system is so good and my system works fine because we do the right numbers and we have the right team that, I pay all the new Age Contruction, my company pay through month by month, the bills, In the end of the month, we send a spreadsheet really clear with all the different bills, with all the different expenses of the project, and the client just reimburse the money. And we continue working month by month until the project is done. That is one way to secure that the job is getting done. And, that you are not burning yourself, paying high percentages in front.
I mean, as you just said, though, that's not very often that happens. I mean, you're kind of a unicorn in that front, Christian. Usually it's the client, cash flowing the build. So, but my question here is like, basically you probably have to bid your project out or have like a third party review the numbers. Like, because if you're only putting it with one construction company, you don't know, if that makes sense, whether those numbers are real or not.
What we do, yes, definitely. Definitely. If the client want to have 3 or 4 different bids, that is totally fine. What we do normally since the beginning when we're designing, I told my clients, hey, let's talk clear. I mean, we don't want to design or we don't want to go through a process designing something that is too big or too expensive and you don't have the ability to go forward with this kind of project. So if you tell us pretty much a ballpark how much it is your budget, we design and we have everything figured out and the amount that the client want to build.
Yeah.
After that, we set up a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet from day one until finish, with foundations on and on and on, list up with the price of materials through hardware stores and everything else. And then the client with the architect can review the numbers, can review the time frame, the chronogram, the budget, and say, sounds all right, or this is too crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the client, the main point of this, it is that the client have to do the due diligence, have to, right, get to work on the numbers, have to spend some time reviewing the contracts. That is the key point to success in any project.
Yeah. I mean, I think the word is trust, but verify everything in Costa Rica, right? Like trust, but then make sure that you verify stuff with other third parties.
Absolutely. Trust have to be with professionalism and also by experience. Yeah. I mean, I only trust somebody when they can present me 10 projects that went right from the beginning until the end. I don't trust nobody just to tell me, I know how to build, I have a crew, I have tools, I can help you out. If somebody came to me and said that, I say, well, how I can prove that you have that quality experience or the skill that we require for this project? I mean, I need at least 10 stories behind that person in order to believe what he's saying. So, like I say, it's time to make some homework.
I mean, how can clients help the construction companies during the process? I mean, number one I could think of is pay on time, because the more that you pay on time, like if you have delays, it's getting like crews on. I mean, maybe not so much for you, Christian, because as you mentioned there, you cash flow a lot of it. But I know for some construction companies, like if there's a delay of 2 or 3 weeks in a payment, that like the manpower on the job might slow down a little bit because the construction company might not have the bandwidth and cash flow to pay for it. But like, what other stuff can clients do to help construction companies during the process?
Get involved in the project. I mean, it's really important that the client be in the site. I mean, if they're overseas, of course, they have to have reviews. They have to have somebody to make videos, and they need some kind of manager to review what people is doing here. But paying on time is critical, especially take advantage of good pricing. Here now with the instability of the dollar exchanging rate, that is crazy buying materials. From one week to another, once the material can be 10, 12, 50% different in prices. Yeah. So when it goes down, you have to take advantage of that. So trying to all the time have money available in the country to, use it and, have a buying power to use these discounts. And also paying on time, that is critical to the successful of the project. That makes a big difference. If you have to take out your crew and bring it back 2 weeks later, work 3 months and then take it out because the client doesn't send money, and that is gonna screw up all the rhythm. This is like playing a song. You need a rhythm to go duty by duty until the end. So
yeah, I agree. And I mean, I think just just my experience is just being clear on the finishes or anything that's important in the home, just so that like you're not slowing down on, like, again, you guys asking for floor tile that the client wants, and then them taking months to decide what they want it is, but like already knowing a lot of that stuff beforehand.
That is important. Absolutely, before the project start, with architect, all these details have to be clear. I mean, if we have all the information ahead, we can have tiles 1 or 2 months before they need it inside. So, and also all that kind of finishes. Logistics are number one. Logistics have to be all the time really well improved. Normally everybody have a space at the building site to have a little shack, a little storage, to have things already there. So, time, especially in Costa Rica, we have a lot of rain in Costa Rica. The rainy season, it is weird. Sometimes it rains a lot, sometimes don't rain at all. So right here, we have to join every single minute of good weather. And the labor and the main power have to be all the time using the most, taking the more advantage possible. So missing materials in the building site, it is not acceptable.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people look to value engineer their builds here in Costa Rica, Christian, when it actually comes time to it. I mean, what are the things that they could consider that would help value engineer and reduce their costs?
Pretty much the experience that they have in the market. I know there is a lot of new young engineers that they're just getting there, but they have to open up their career. Probably they have to work next to somebody with more experience for a while until they can run in their own feet. But the experience is total. We work in different terrains, especially when you work in the hills, you know exactly what you're doing in your foundations. You need to know your compactation, your excavation, everything. That can be critical, in the end. If you're putting $1 million home in the slope and the foundations are not the special designs for the house, in the future, that is going to have a problem. So engineering and architects have to be based on experience, and it's difficult to say because every story is different, but right here you have to go like proof and error, make some mistakes, learn from that, and then, you will have a lot of experience in order to have something well done.
Christian, I mean, you guys do most of the stuff, I would say, in that southern zone. I call it kind of the central southern zone because I know you work a little bit in the central, but I mean, how does building in that part of the country differ from, say, Guanacaste or the city or, any other areas?
Well, transportation, it is horrible. We have to make our planification really good because the roads, when you are having a 12-meter loader going in the hills, the only four-wheel drive there, it is where exactly that you have to do things right once or you are going to screw it up. Delivering materials in the building sites, it is really important and also really difficult. We have to shut up a project because we don't have the material that we need, and it's raining for 2 or 3 weeks straight and we cannot get materials inside. So, and also we don't have big machines, in the capital and the city in San Jose. If you want to pour concrete, you just call the concrete company, hey, I need 15, 20 cubic meters, and the next morning you have it right there. Here in the South, pretty much everything have to be done by hand, from scratch, because we don't have the ability to have this heavy equipment in the hills. And pretty much I can say, we can work with the same quality anywhere else in the country, but the way to do it is a little different because it have to be done by handwork, by people. We cannot use so many machines, but after that, everything is pretty much the same.
Okay. What areas of Costa Rica would you be investing in? And I know that you are investing for the next 5 to 10 years.
Definitely here in the South. The South, it is a diamond. They need to polish a little bit. Now we see Guanacaste. I was last week in Guanacaste for a little vacation, and I see all this development, but Guanacaste is getting too pricey, so the profit margin is getting reduced. If you invest $1 million there, you are not going to make much with $1 million. If you invest here in the South, you can, extend $1 million a lot more.
Are there any particular areas like investing for the future, like 5 or 10 years, that you think people should look at?
Absolutely. Between Quepos and Dominical here in the South is an area called Portalon. Portalon is growing like crazy in this moment. Actually, you can still find in lots between $100,000, $150,000, $200,000. That is impossible to find in Guanacaste nowadays. Portalon, or the area between Quepos and Dominical, is going to be in 5 years. It is going to be successful, no doubt. Actually, I have some folks working in the area. It's called Friends of Portalon, that they're doing an amazing job right there. And I mean, that is the area to be. This is the new Tamarindo. This is the new Nosara, the new Uvita. It is Portalon.
Okay. My last question for you, Christian, if I've kept you long enough, and I know that you're busy with a lot of construction projects, but if you inherited $500,000, so you had $500,000 and you had to invest it into a business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you invest it in and why?
Absolutely real estate. I will buy a piece of farm. I will develop and sell. I can probably from the $500,000 in a period of 2 years, I can make $2 million.
Wow.
So that is a simple math. I mean, and real estate is not something really complicated.
So, I mean, explain that out a little bit. You would buy a piece of land and develop it and sell it on, or subdivide it, and like where would you look, Christian? Just because I know people are very interested in knowing a little bit more about what you would do.
Yes, probably I will buy a property they can subdivide.
Okay.
Trying to let's say if I can buy with $500,000, maybe I can buy 10 hectares, make 10 different lots, and sell it in $200,000 each lot.
Yeah.
So that is a simple process. It's not so complicated. Just working a little bit with the water disponibility, electrical letters, electrical disponibility, and that's it. You don't have to do much, and triple or quadruple your money, and pretty simple.
Awesome. Well, Christian, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here on the podcast. I, again, appreciate you taking the time and also sharing your knowledge with us. And again, anyone that wants to get in contact with Christian, I'll put all of his contact details and New Age Construction in the description down below. But thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Richard, to have me. Thank you very much to everybody that's listening to this podcast. Hopefully we can help you in the near future, and New Age Construction continue doing amazing things here in the South.
Awesome. Thanks, Christian.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Great podcast there with Christian, guys. As you can see, construction here in Costa Rica can be easy, but it can also be very difficult. It's whenever anyone posts on Facebook they're about to start construction, just the amount of negative comments there. But, we project manage probably around about 30 projects built here in Costa Rica. We visit weekly, oversee them, and basically are kind of owners, reps, and project managers. So we've just taken a couple of new ones up in Guanacaste. We're starting to get a great reputation here when it comes to construction and also project management as well. But we don't actually build ourselves. We're basically, as I like to say, kind of the pain in the butt for the client so that they don't have to worry about it. They can kind of enjoy the process and all of the fun stuff of finishings, design, those kind of things, while we kind of work on the I would say the intricacies of construction in Costa Rica. But remember, guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, please subscribe, give us thumbs up of 5 stars. If you want to just reach out to us, you want us to cover a topic, info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. I very much appreciate everyone listening to the podcast. We'll continue to do these. We're 200 episodes deep, so there's no going back now. And I'm sure that we'll be at 300 before we know it. But again, thanks very much for listening. Have a great day. Bye.
The #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.